Hello everyone, welcome to Defense IAS Academy. Now our topic is economic reforms. Popularly, economic reforms denote the process in which a government prescribes declining role for state and expanding role for the private sector in an economy. It is safer to see economic reform as a policy shift in an economy from one to another, or can also be known as alternative development strategies. Means we can also call it as alternative development strategies. To understand the term economic reform and more, so to clarify the confusion concerning it in the Indian context, we must know the different alternative development strategies. Let us discuss it in brief. The first one is the planning model. Till the rise of the Soviet Union, the prevalent development strategy in the Euro-American countries was the capitalist system of economy, which promoted the principles of laissez-faire and dominant role for private capital in the economy. Once the Soviet Union went for the planning model, including the East European countries and finally China in 1949, most of the developing countries after their independence were influenced by socialism, and the governments there took a central role in planned development. Most of the countries went for protectionist economic policy with the import substitution as one method side by side. The experiences of the economies give rise to a new ideology which is popularly known as Washington Census. So our next economic reform is Washington Census. By the early 1980s, a new development strategy emerged. Though it was not new, it was like the old idea getting vindicated after failure of a comparatively newer idea. After the world recognized the limits of a state-dominated economy, arguments in favor of the market, that is private sector, was promoted emphatically. Many countries shifted their economic policy just to the other extreme, arguing for a minimal role of the government in the economy. The governments were also suggested to take the measures which could boost the aggregate demand in the economy, that is microeconomic stability measures. The measures which were taken by the governments were known as the microeconomic stability measures. The broad outlines of such a development strategy were called as the Washington Census. Let us move further. Under this concept only, this census is broadly termed as a popular meaning of economic reform, followed by almost all the socialist, communist and planned developing economies during the 1980s in one form or the other. The term economic reform got currency around the world during this period. Now the next topic under this concept is mixed economy. By the mid 1990s, it had become increasingly clear that neither of the extremes, the Washington Census or the state-led planned economy, were the ultimate strategies of development. The success achieved by the East Asian economies, even if we take into account the setback due to the financial crisis of 1997 and 98, stands out in marked contrast to the experiences of the other economies of the time who were following the Washington Census strategy of the planning model. The East Asian economies have not only been able to propel higher growth rates, but they have been greatly successful in reducing poverty, promoting education and healthcare too. By the mid of 1990s, not only the worldview has popularized in favor of mixed economy, but one another change was about to sweep the world's economy, that is the favor for globalization sponsored by the World Trade Organization. Let us move further. Our next topic is under economic reforms in India. On July 23rd, 1991, India launched a process of economic reforms in response to a fiscal and balance of payment crisis. Thus, the reforms were historic and were going to change the very face and the nature of the economy in the coming times. The reforms and the related programs are still going on with changing emphasis and dimensions. Means it is still going on with the changes in their emphases and the dimensions. But they are criticized as being slow ever since the UPA government came to power in May 2004. Back in the mid-1980s, the governments had taken its first step to economic reforms, while the reforms of 1980s witnessed rather limited nature of deregulation and partial liberalization of only a few aspects of the existing control regime. The reforms started in early 1990s in the fields of industries, trade, investment, and later to include agriculture also, were much wider and deeper. Though liberal policies were announced by the governments during the reforms of the 1980s itself with the slogan of economic reforms, it was only launched with full conviction in the early 1990s, but the reforms of the 1980s, which were under the influence of the famous Washington census ideology, had a crippling impact on the economy. Let us move towards the reform measures. We have two reform measures. One is the macroeconomic stabilization measures and the second one is the structural reform measures. The economic reform program that India launched consisted of two categories of measures. First one is the macroeconomic stabilization measures. It includes all those economic policies which intend to boost the aggregate demand in the economy, be it domestic or external. For the enhanced domestic demand, the focus has to be on increasing the purchasing power of the masses, which entails on emphasizes on the creation of gainful and quality employment opportunities. Now the second one is the structural reform measures. It includes all the policy reforms which have been initiated by the government to boost the aggregate supply of goods and services in the economy. It naturally entails enshacking the economy so that it may search for its own potential of enhanced productivity and production. For the purchasing capacity of the people to be increased, the economy needs increased income which comes from increased level of the activities. Many times in economics we have studied a word or we have heard about a word, the LPG. What is this LPG? The process of reforms in India has to be completed where three other processes, namely liberalization, privatization and globalization. Means LPG stands for L for liberalization, P for privatization and G for globalization, known popularly by their short form, that is the LPG. These three processes specify the characteristics of the reform process India initiated. Here we can say, or it can be said that liberalization shows the direction of reform, privatization shows the path of reform, globalization shows the goal of the reform. Let us move further. The first one is the liberalization. The term liberalization has its origin in the political ideology liberalism, which took its form by early 19th century. It developed basically in the previous 3 centuries. The term is sometimes portrayed as a meta-ideology capable of embracing a broad range of rival values and beliefs. The ideology was the product of the breakdown of feudalism and the growth of a market or the capitalist society. We have covered the L for liberalization. Now we will move towards the P for privatization. The policies through which the rollback of the state was done included deregulation, privatization and introduction of market reforms in public services. Privatization at that time was used as a process under which the state assets were transferred to the private sector. The root of the term privatization goes to this this period, which got more and more currency around the world once the East European nations and later the developing democratic nations went for it. But during the period, several connotations and meanings of the term privatization have developed. We may see them as follows. Privatization in its purest sense and lexically means denationalization, that is, transfer of the state ownership of the assets to the private sector to the tune of 100%. Such bold move took place only once anywhere in the world without any political fallouts. Second one, the sense in which privatization has been used is the process of disinvestment all over the world. This process in selling of the shares of the state-owned enterprises to the private sector. Disinvestment is denationalization of less than 100% ownership transferred from state to the private sector. Third one, the third and the last sense in which the term privatization has been used around the world is very wide. Basically, all the economic policies which directly or indirectly seem to promote the expansion of the private sector or the market or economy have been termed by experts and the governments as the process of privatization. After discussing all the 3 points, here we may connect liberalization to privatization in India. Liberalization shows the direction of reform in India, that is, inclination towards the dominance of market. But how will it be achieved? Basically, privatization will be path to reform. It means everything which includes promotion to the market will be the path of the reform process in India. This is all about P for privatization. Now we will move towards the G for globalization of LPG. The process of globalization has always been used in economic terms, though it has always taken the political and cultural dimensions. Once economic changes occur, it has several socio-political manifestations. Globalization is generally termed as an increase in economic integration among nations. Even before several nation states were not even born, the countries around the world had gone for globalization. That is a closer integration of their economies. Any cross-border investment by an OECD company outside its country or of origin for its benefit is called globalization. What is OECD? That stands for the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. Let us move further. That was all about LPG, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. Now we have generations of economic reforms. We have 4 generations for the economic reform. Though there were no such announcements or proposals while India launched its reforms in 1991, in the coming times, many generations of reforms were announced by the governments. A total of 3 generations of reforms have been announced till date, while experts have gone to suggest the 4th generation too. First generation reform. It was in the year 2000 or 2001, or we may say that it was in the year of it was just discussion during the year of 1991 to 2000. That the government for the first time announced the need for the second generation of economic reforms, and it was launched the same year. The ones which had been initiated by them were called by the government as the reforms of the first generation. The broad coordinates of the first generation of reforms may be seen as under. The first one is the promotion to private sector. This included various important and liberalizing policy decisions, that is de-reservation and de-licensing of the industries, abolition of the MRTP limit, abolition of the compulsion of the phased production and conversion of loans into shares, simplifying environmental laws for the establishment of the industry. This is the first one. Let us move towards the second one. Second one is the public sector reforms. The steps taken to make the public sector undertakings profitable, efficient, their disinvestment token, their corporation, etc. were the major part of it. Third one is the external sector reforms. They consisted of policies like abolition quantitative restrictions on import, switching to the floating currency regime of exchange rate, announcing full current account convertibility, reforms in the capital account, permission to foreign investment, or we may call it as direct as well as the indirect, promulgation of a liberal foreign exchange management act, etc. Fourth one is the financial sector reforms. Several reform initiatives were taken up in the areas of the banking sector, capital market, insurance, mutual funds, etc. Next one is the tax reforms. This consisted of all policy initiatives directed towards simplifying, broad-basing, modernizing, checking evasion, etc. A major redirection was ensured by this generation of reforms in the economy. The command type of the economy moved strongly towards a market-driven economy, private sector to have greater participation in the future. Now our next generation is the second generation reforms. The government launched this generation of the reforms in the year 2000 or 2001. Basically, the reforms India launched in the early 1990s were not taking place as desired, and a need for another set of reforms was felt by the government, which were initiated with the little of the second generation of economic reforms. The reforms of this generation were not deeper and delicate, but required a higher political willpower from the government. Let us read about this generation further. It has the major components of the reform are as given below. First one is the factor market reforms. Considered as the backbone for the success of reform process in India itself, it consists of a dismantling of the administered price mechanism. There were many products in the economy whose price were fixed, regulated by the government. With petroleum, sugar, fertilizers, drugs, etc. Though a major section of the products under the APM were produced by the private sectors, they were not sold on market principles, which hindered the profitability of the manufacturers as well as the sellers, and ultimately the expansion of the concerned industry, leading to a demand-supply gap. Under market reform, these products were to be brought into the market fold. Second one is the public sector reforms. The second generation of reforms in the public sector especially emphasizes on the areas like greater functional autonomy, free leverage to the capital markets, international tie-ups, and greenfield ventures, disinvestment, strategic, etc. Third is the reforms in the government and public institution. This involves all those moves which really go to convert the role of the government from the controller to the facilitator, or the administrative reform as it may be called. Fourth one is the legal sector reforms. Though reforms in the legal sector were started in the first generation itself, now it was to be deepened and newer areas were to be included. Abolishing outdated and contradictory laws, reforms in the Indian Penal Code, labor laws, company laws, and enacting suitable legal provisions for the new areas like cyber laws, etc. Fifth one is the reforms in the critical areas. The second generation reforms also commit to suitable reforms in the infrastructure sector. Those are power, roads, especially as the telecom has been encouraging, agriculture, agricultural extension, education and healthcare, etc. These areas have been called by the government as the critical areas. Now let us move to the next generation of reform, that is the third generation reforms. Announcement of the third generation of reforms were made on the margins of the launching of the 10th plan, that was in between 2000 to 2007. This generation of reforms commits to the cause of a fully functional Panchayati Raj institution so that the benefits of the economic reforms in general can reach to the grassroots. Now the last and the fourth one generation reforms is fourth generation reform. This is not an official generation of reform in India. Basically, in early 2002, some experts coined this generation of reforms, which entail a fully information technology enabled India. They hypothesized a two-way connection between the economic reforms and the information technology or IT, with each one reinforcing the other. This is all about the concept of economic reforms. If you like this, please subscribe. Thank you.